Thank you, Parky. Yes, yes. I was getting a little bit nervous at the end there, Parky, because you were talking about the club, and that's my role. I'm here because I'm involved with the Historic Racing Register, and I would firstly like to thank the volunteers who have come out today to help make this the success it is. And I'd also like to thank, in no particular order, Michael Shearer, Dan Jeffries, Mark Scott, Joe Cordo, Jim Scammell and John Veal for making these beautiful cars available. Who would have thought that they would still be alive? So it's fantastic. So, well, there's not many people. The cars are doing better, I think. Yeah. And Parky's still crying in his beer about selling the Ricardian, but he'll get over that. As most of you would know, the Sporting Car Club began in 1934. What actually happened is a bit hazy. There's different names like the Junior Car Club and the Veteran Car Club, but ultimately it was formed with a group of people that ran a heap of old veteran cars down to Glenelg one day, and they thought that was a good idea. Funnily enough, the RAA, who aren't my favourite organisation, reckoned it was a bad thing because it stopped people buying new cars and they didn't want this rubbish on the road, so they should get off. There were significant leaders in the annals of this club, in the forebears, and there was a Jeff Verco who was, I think, secretary for quite a number of years, highly regarded. Steve Tillett, of course, a racer and a significant person in the club. The crazy Eldred Norman, Brooks Kennedy, and many others. And I'm not game enough to mention the ones that have followed that have had a significant influence. But I'm looking at one. Anyway, moving right along. The car club started by not having race meetings as such, but having trials. And some of the trials they had, when you look at the junk that they were driving, a 6-hour mountain trial, where the mountains were just up there, but you didn't have to go very far to find one. A 4-hour mystery tour, and they had a midnight tour. But eventually, in 1934, on the October long weekend, it's another anniversary. They ran their first competition race meeting at Sellex Beach. Motorcycles had been racing there for some time, but they decided the car club decided to run a speed event there, and they did all crazy stuff. They tried to set land speed records and official timing and so forth. Anyway, it was successful, and it was too successful in as much as they didn't have enough people on gates to take the money. Then they moved to picnic events at Buckland Park. I don't know if you've ever been to Buckland Park. It's just a beach with mainly shell grit, but I recall going there as a kid. So they had the competition side of things up and running, and that's continued. I mean, I can go on, but it's continued. And like today, there's a race meeting at Mallar. Pity they can't be here, but anyway, they had a 170-mile midnight trial on one occasion, and it was won by Warren Benithan. And on occasions, Kim was his, not riding mechanic, but he was his offsider in the pit. So the Benithan, this club was based on young rich people. And looking around, I can't see. There's probably some rich people here, but not very many of them are young. The Centenary Grand Prix at Victor Harbour, which was the first one that the club run, was at the time the biggest as far as a crowd in attendance. It was the biggest motor racing meeting ever held in Australia. So that was in little old Adelaide. And there were others, as Tony has alluded to. There was a period there where racing on roads, because we didn't have racetracks in Australia. They were all closed public roads. They were banned, and hence the move to places like Lobethal and New Riutapa. But yes, then with the government banning road racing, some very clever blokes like Steve Tillett, Eldred Norman, Jeff Berry organised a track at Port Wakefield. And I understand that the Sporting Car Club didn't actually have a financial involvement other than depending on members to compete at these venues, at these meetings, for the financial gain of the club. And we've already mentioned the Austin Severn Club and the MG Club as very, very strong volunteers to move all that stuff from. I didn't see it at Port Wayford. I did go there as a child, but it wasn't until the 60s at Malalara I saw how good the pit counter was, or wasn't. And the club going forward has run Grand Prix, circuit sprints, race meetings. Mud pluggers were pretty big there for a while. That was a very strong group within the club. The AMF for a few years there, which was very successful, but not necessarily financially successful for the club, and we're still going today. So a lot of there have been drivers that sort of got their start at Sporting Car Club meetings. I thought I saw Malcolm Ramsey's name in the program from 1961, but I think I'm incorrect there. I've been looking at a lot of old programs, but his first car was a Morris 850. And who's Tony Lucas? Tony Lucas. We hope to have Tony Lucas here today, but he's not doing public appearances anymore. But Tony ran in 1961 in a supercharged Mini. So I can just imagine if he drove the way he talked. Yes. Amazing. So we're here to celebrate the success of our club as an organisation that's been able to organise things from a whole lot of cars climbing through mud to Grand Prix that are comparable with the best in the world. And as we go forward, we'll have a little break, and I'll pop around with the microphone and have a chat with Jeff Matner. You still with us there, Jeff? You've taken notes? And maybe with Dixie. I spoke to Dixie the other day and said, was that you at the 61? And there he is in his white coat, and you haven't worn your white coat. I'm the only clown that's dressed up. Yes, and Ron Guppy, who I don't think the car ran that well, Ron, did it? Where are you, Ron? Yeah. I think you put a rod out the side of the BSA Special. And Noel. Noel is a very humble man and doesn't like talking about himself. It's mainly because everyone else talks about him. But I asked Noel a couple of questions about the Zephyr Special, now owned by Greg Rachmaninoff. Yes, I got it and corrected. Okay, look, thank you. Grab a coffee and a piece of cake.